Welcome, everybody, to the first Post Point podcast of the fall quarter 2019-2020. I'm Justin.
I'm Catherine.
And
Victor.
okay. I was making sure. I don't know if you're going to introduce yourself. And we are going to be talking about when is it too old to be trick-or-treating, basically.
And other alternatives there are potentially to trick-or-treating.
Yes. So, let's talk first. When did you stop trick-or-treating, Catherine?
I'm trying to remember and I can't. Probably about 13 or 14.
13 or 14? Was that 8th grade?
About that.
Around the 8th grade year?
My sister kept going, so I went a few times with her, but it was just as a chaperone type of thing.
Right.
But I stopped participating about 14, I guess.
14?
Yeah.
What about you, Vic? When did you?
For me, it was probably around, I want to say 6th grade.
Yeah.
You're making me feel really immature right now.
No,
Okay.
I was probably the same time. I was somewhere between 6th and 8th, I would say.
Okay.
Somewhere around that time frame, just because part of it was laziness. I didn't want
Yeah.
to go out and do it anymore. And part of it was just, it felt weird, I guess.
Yeah, and for me personally, it was more of the tradition of doing it, and I never actually enjoyed the candy, because I've never really had, a sweet tooth, so I would always give my candy to my siblings or anything.
Yeah, so it was just more for,
Yeah.
because you could.
And then I was like, well, why am I even doing this?
Yeah. So we all stopped trick-or-treating around between 6th and 8th grade, somewhere
Around the same
between
time,
that
yeah.
time frame. Do you think that should be the normal, the standard, or do you think there just shouldn't be an age limit on trick-or-treating? What do you think?
I feel like in most cases it's 14, 15 is kind of pushing it. I don't think it should be illegal to go further, but in some states it's banned to go trick-or-treating if you're over the age of 12.
Which ones?
It was Virginia, and then Louisiana, and Mississippi, and then a few others. But the reason for that, I think in the 60s or something, there were some accidents involving, knives and stuff with some older kids
Oh.
and the younger kids. So they put a ban on it just so that in future cases, police would be able to legally respond to it instead of having well, you can't do that, they're minors still. So even though they're drastic measures to prohibit that type of stuff, I think it was 30 days in jail and then up to $100 or something as a fine. But those measures are there, but they haven't really been changed yet. But the reason they're there is so that if an event does come up, then police will be able to respond to it without legal issues.
Would you, Vic, you think there's an age limit where you should probably stop by, or?
I definitely think there should be an age to where you stop, but I don't know what that age is. I mean, I can see middle schoolers still being okay. High school, I think, is pushing it.
Right.
But then, I feel like there's just a different stigma when you get older. College, you still celebrate Halloween, but it's more so in the form of parties.
Right. That's what we're going to get into is what can you do instead once you're older? But do you think it's necessary to, in some of those states, to make it illegal? Do you think it's, that big of an issue where you need to make it illegal? Or do you think, like I said, it's just kind of one of those things where you should kind of know when you should stop trick-or-treating?
I feel like I can see both ends of it, because I feel like if there's a 30-year-old man trick-or-treating with a bunch of kids or something, then that could be raising some red flags.
Yeah,
But
especially if it's dark at night and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, if someone's just doing it because they enjoy it and it makes them feel like a kid, then I don't see the harm in that.
Yeah.
They just kind of doing a weird thing, but still, having fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything you want to add to that, or?
Well, I mean, I'm just agreeing with that. I don't think there should be the actual
Law.
ban on it,
Absolutely.
because 12 seems kind of there are plenty of 13-year-olds that still want to do that. So I don't think there should be an actual ban, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned earlier, and I think this is a kind of good segue into it we can talk about now. What is the alternatives to trick-or-treating? Obviously, one of the big ones you mentioned, parties, right? You could dress up in a costume, go out with your friends, have a good time. no matter what age. I don't think it's going to be frowned upon to have a Halloween party. I know many parents still do. So, like, that's a great alternative. But is there anything else you think you could go do with your friends?
Corn mazes, haunted houses. Don't like haunted houses, but it's an alternative.
It's an alternative.
Yeah.
I remember one year, it was around when Halo 5 came out, I just kind of bought that night and just, like, played that.
That was just like, out on Halloween.
That was just kind of like, yeah, it's just something that came out around Halloween time. Just went, this last year, I went to see the new Jigsaw movie that night with some friends. So.
Yeah, you don't even have to do something Halloween related.
Yeah.
Just have fun with your mates.
I mean, every year, like, since we kind of stopped trick-or-treating, my family's always ordered as much Papa Murphy's pizza as possible. And we just cook it and then eat it all night long and answer the door for trick-or-treaters.
There you go.
So.
That's living the good life.
It's a really good life.
For trick-or-treaters, do you think, I don't want to say it's necessary, but do you think there should be kind of like a certain amount of effort that should go into a costume? For example, if a kid shows up and all he's got is like a $5 mask
Flannel
and a
mask.
sweatshirt and maybe jeans. Like, he looks like what he wore to school today, but then he threw on a mask
Right.
and called it a costume. Do you think that's enough? Or do you think you should be able to be like, that's not a costume, get out of here, you know?
I remember there was this one time when I was trick-or-treating, one of the last times, there was a kid in front of me at the door, and the lady turned him away because he didn't have a costume. And I just remember feeling so, like, scared for my future self, for myself. Like, what if no one thinks my costume is good enough now? And I had put so much work into it, but it was still, like, he didn't seem to care. He was kind of making fun of it, but it was just, like, I don't know. It seemed a little harsh of the lady to turn him away because she didn't like his costume.
Right.
But I see where you're coming from, and I think there should be, well, not should be, but...
Do you think there's an amount of effort that people should put in? Because we also have to consider, of course, what if you just can't afford a costume?
Mm-hmm.
That's a realistic thing. If you don't have the money for that, what can you do to work around that solution without just throwing on a mask? And
I think it's the thought that counts.
the thought that counts.
Yeah. What about you?
I don't know. I think that's such a weird thing to do. I feel like if someone turns you away because of your costume, I feel like it's like a fashion police.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know, right?
It's just like, I don't know. I feel like it shouldn't really matter too much. I mean, yeah. I don't. Technically, you could just, like, you know, get bed sheets, put eye holes in your ghost.
Yeah.
It's a good classic costume.
Yeah.
No
So
problem.
I don't know. I don't think it should matter, like, the complexity of a costume.
Absolutely.
What do you feel about, like, vans coming into the neighborhood and dropping kids off?
That's a new thing, is it?
Yeah, like, for my neighborhood, it's really popular with candy. So what I see a lot pretty much every year is just a bunch of minivans coming and dropping off vanfuls of kids and then having them ravage the streets and then picking them up at another part of the neighborhood, taking them on to, like, Crystal Ridge.
I get a lot of that too, because we do a bunch of decorations, so people think, oh, that's the good house.
They always go
candy.
for the good house.
Yeah, they're always like, they got lights and stuff, let's go there. In some cases I understand, like, especially if the weather sucks, and it's like extreme, like it's pouring rain or something, but the kids still want to go get candy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good alternative, because then you're not running around getting soaked all the time. And I don't want to tell people, like, you have to do it this way, because this is how we did it growing up. But at the same time, I do think it takes away a little bit when you're just driving from neighborhood to neighborhood where you know where the good candy is, where you know where the rich neighborhoods. But at the same time, like, I get it. Certain level of it's cold, you don't want to walk around all day.
It's dark.
Kids cry, you know, they get upset doing all this, so it makes your life a bit easier when you can just drive them wherever
Mm-hmm.
they want to go. So, I mean, on one hand, I get it, yeah, but I also think it takes away a little bit. But it's also just me, like the tradition of walking around. You walk the whole way, basically.
Yeah.
But that's me. What would you think?
I don't really experience that too much because, like, typically on Halloween I'm just not home or I'm just not really paying attention to, like, what's going on outside. But I don't know how I feel about that. That's a little odd. I feel like it's easy to lose a kid that way.
You could. Head count.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's fine just so long as like the parents are willing to take the responsibility of just letting their kids go out.
Yeah, without supervising.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I guess my neighborhood's pretty tame compared to others, so I don't really have to deal with anything like that. But, yeah, I think it all boils down to just, like, the parents willing to, like, take that risk or not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is. It's a bit of a gamble because you're basically dropping your kids off in a
There you
neighborhood
go.
saying,
Bye.
stick together,
Yeah.
we'll see you in an hour.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll be there, or that sucks.
What
So,
do you
yeah.
feel about houses making kids do stuff for the candy? So there's this house in my neighborhood that always does like really elaborate. They redo their whole garage for a haunted house basically, and they always give away the best candy, like
Right.
massive, king size things. So everyone wants to go there, but they don't let you take the candy until you've gone through the haunted garage. What do you feel about that? Because I mean, there are plenty of other houses that you could go to, but then at the same time, it's almost like.
On one hand, I kind of get that because it's adding that extra element of like, I don't want to say challenge, but more fun to it because like you got to go through, do this thing, and you get rewarded with a king size candy bar.
That's pretty good.
But at the same time, that does seem a little, I don't want to say suspicious, but it does seem a little weird being like, hey, you're gonna have to do this if you want some candy. That does seem a little weird, and I think the way your neighbors are doing it is fine because I get that. It's like we set up this whole haunted house. If you want the candy,
Right.
you're gonna have to be brave
And they would always get other neighbors to volunteer. And
traverse
dress
in
up
there
for it.
and go in, and so I think that's fine. But I definitely could see that going the wrong way.
Yeah.
I could definitely
Yeah.
see that becoming an issue if it reaches that point.
Right.
Especially, I mean, they're keeping it in their garage, so that's not that bad. But if it's like you actually have to go into the house, if you want to get that candy, that's definitely a red flag for me. I'd be like, you're not going in there. That's.
I guess one of my big questions is, what if like it's a little kid and he just can't make it through? Does he not get the candy afterwards?
That was me though. Like the first time I couldn't do it, and someone was just like, "Okay, well, good luck then." And then the next year I was able to do it, but it was just like the first year, I saw all these people going away with like the king size bars, and I was like, "That looks super good." Twix, because I mean I love Twix. But then I went up and I was like, never mind. And they're like, well, you can't get candy unless you do it. And then I just
Yeah, that seems a little.
I was like.
I definitely think there should be a point where it's like, okay, we can give you the candy because, like my brother, he's absolutely deathly terrified of haunted houses.
Yeah.
No matter how cheesy they are, deathly terrified. And so being like, sucks to be you don't get a candy bar because you're young and you're afraid. Like,
Yeah.
That kind of sucks.
I walked to your house. What more do you want?
And I definitely think if they're worried that a kid's faking it, I think it'd be easy to tell if a kid is genuinely like, I'm scared, I don't want to go in, versus I'm just faking it because I don't want to bother.
Right.
I think most kids who it doesn't bother them will just be like, whatever, I'll go through, fine. It takes 5 minutes of my time.
Done.
Yeah.
Mm.
But for a little kid, yeah, that sounds like a good point. Like, you're just going to tell the kid, sorry, you get nothing.
Right.
So I definitely think.
What was your weirdest costume?
My weirdest costume. Oh,
Both of you.
think about that. I would say it was a Halloween party, and I was scrounging. I didn't want to get a costume. I just wanted to work with whatever I had in my closet. And it was a couple years back. I got this giant panda head from Walmart. You might have seen them, like these big animal heads. So
Horrifying.
I had one of them. No, they weren't horrifying.
Oh, yeah, they are.
They were cool. Anyway, I got a panda head, and then so I just went in my closet. I was like, okay, I got black jeans, I got a white shirt, black vest. I'll be a panda in a suit type thing. And so that's what I did. And I
Nice.
played guitar, and I serenaded my friends at a Halloween party.
There you go.
Weirdest thing I've ever done, but it worked. They
Yeah?
liked it.
For me, I actually didn't really do a lot of costume stuff. So I only ever really went trick-or-treating like 3 times my whole life. Because when I was younger, my mom was really religious, so we didn't really celebrate Halloween until like 6th grade. And I think it was actually middle school is when I stopped, now that I think about it. So there were times where me and my friend Ethan, we just wouldn't really even have a costume. We would just go trick-or-treating and just be like, oh, well, okay. And it would work, so I think, like, my weirdest costume was just not having a costume and just going around.
Just showing up with you. Okay, good.
What did you think of it, like, the few times you went?
I enjoyed it, but I think I mainly enjoyed it for, like, just hanging out with friends and stuff. Like, I could care less about the candy. It was more so just, like, hanging out with friends.
Just being there.
Yeah, and then we would just, afterwards, we would just go to Pioneer Valley and go in the playground area and just chill and eat our candy and stuff. So it was, like, it was more of that social gathering rather than, like, the event itself.
What do you think? Because I think for a lot of us, I know you two have mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned, but I'm the same, like, the candy's, like, just nice, but that wasn't really the incentive. It was just kind of for the heck of doing it. What are some alternatives that you've had, maybe, for the candy? Because, I mean, at least for me, I never ate it all. So I tried to find something to do with it. And for an example, I had friends who, after we go trick-or-treating, we would go back to one of their houses, and we would play poker, and we would bet using candy. I mean, it was just something to do, something to get rid of it, because you could intentionally lose and get rid of all your candy, and you were like, great.
I have 2 sisters, and every time we would go trick-or-treating, we would always have, like, a massive amounts of candy, and I wouldn't want any of it, but I wouldn't want to, like, you know, I would want to spend my stuff wisely, so we would open up, like, little shops, basically. So after we were done trick-or-treating, we would spread out all of our candy, and we would categorize. We had too much time on our hands, and I would offer, like, 5 of these for one of those that I really liked. So I would get rid of a bunch of candy, but in exchange, I would be getting the ones I really liked from them.
Works out. Yeah. Vic, anything? Or
I
know you said you didn't go often, so.
I don't know. I mean, normally I just snack on stuff while I play video games, so I'll do that. Or if, like, it would just kind of be up for grabs, whether my sister can grab some, my mom, or anything. Like, it wasn't ever that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Let's ask, when trick-or-treating, what's the weirdest thing you've ever received instead of candy?
I was going to ask
You know, like, sometimes you'll receive the raisin box. Sometimes
dentures.
Sometimes receive mints. Have you received dentures?
Yeah, dentures.
Really?
Yeah.
I got,
They were clean, and
I was going to say, like, I hope
but it was, like, I guess not quite dentures, but, like, you know, in those dentist offices,
oh, yeah,
how they've got, like, that set of teeth that's just like that.
You got one of those?
Yeah.
You're real.
Yeah, I did.
That's nothing. I mean, mine's nothing compared to that. I got, like, toothpaste and a toothbrush.
My sister got, like, a tiny piggy bank, so.
That's kind of cute.
Yeah.
Did you get anything weird in your...
Not necessarily, but I remember we were, like, super thirsty, and we tried to drink from this person's, like, pond thing that they had in front of their house, and that didn't work, so we ended up trick-or-treating, but instead for candy, we just asked them for, like, water, and they just gave us water bottles, and it was awesome.
You guys got water.
Yeah.
That works, you know.
What do you guys think of those bowls that they leave at the door that have the sign that just says, take one? What do you think of those?
I mean, I kind of get that. You don't want to be going all night. I mean, you're hoping kids will be honest, because I have seen the kids take the bowl and dump it and then run.
Yeah.
I've seen that a few times.
One of our coworkers has admitted to doing that. No.
Oh, okay. I was going to say. But, I mean, I can understand it, especially if it's getting later in the night, you want to hit the hay, or you want to go out, but you still want to leave something for the kids, just so there's something there. I think it works, but there's definitely that gamble of some kid is going to come and take the bowl.
I was a law-abiding citizen.
I always took one just because
yeah,
that's how it was. Unless it was like the very end of the night, like it was around like 11 or midnight, no one was out anymore, and they had those bowls still. I'd be like, well, I guess I'll take 2.
But yeah, I was in middle school, and there was like an empty neighborhood, so we would just grab handfuls. We wouldn't like take the whole bowl, but we'd just grab a few handfuls and just leave.
If no one's there,
then I mean,
why not?
Right.
My neighborhood was always full, so that's why I was like, probably shouldn't take too many so kids have a chance. But yeah, no one's around. Why not? I mean, they don't want the candy.
Then you might as well take it. Yeah. Something that me and my family do instead of trick-or-treating last year, well, we usually just like eat pizza all night long, but it's pretty good. Something else we do is head up to Gethsemane Cemetery, and so we go with different events and organizations, and prior to that we all like decorate luminary bags and we light candles inside of them. So then we just go throughout the cemetery at night and like just put little lit candle bags on the gravestones of everyone.
That's awesome.
Super fun.
I dig that.
Yeah.
There you go. There's another alternative for what you can do for Halloween.
Wander around a cemetery at night.
Heck yeah, that's how you're supposed to do
Candlelight is good.
Do you think there's there's obviously one. What do you think is the earliest to start trick-or-treating? Because I've had kids come by when it's still, like, broad daylight out. And I'm like, what are you doing here?
Oh, earliest daytime or age?
Daytime. I mean, both, sure. We can do age, too. What age do you think?
And answering both. I feel like there's definitely a point where it's too young and it's mostly the parent that's going. Because, like, there's been a few times where a person's come up and they're, like, holding their kid. And they're like, trick or treat. And I'm like,
they're not going to eat it.
The 5-month-old is going to eat the candy, sure. But, I mean, it's adorable, so.
So you can see babies in really cute costumes.
That's true.
That's always a plus.
Yeah.
So.
But then, adding to the daylight thing, it's like, I get why they want to come earlier, because it's still brighter out and most of them are younger and stuff. But there's a point where it's like, some of them have been coming at like 3 o'clock.
And you're like, I don't even have candy ready, man.
I'm not done decorating yet, so.
Yeah, definitely.
Think of it like 4th of July, like when people are shooting off fireworks, and it's just kind of like...
It's not even nighttime.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a bit, please.
Yeah. I definitely think, like... I think the earliest should start, like, when it's, like, at that point of when it's getting dark.
Yeah.
Right, kind of.
At earliest. But at earliest age, I think when the child can, like, walk and talk for themselves, I guess.
Yeah.
That much sugar is no longer, like, a concern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, sugar.
Let's be
but,
real.
Like, for a 5-month-old, it's kind of like...
Yeah, it's like, they're not going to eat that. That's for you, not for them.
Adding on to that question, though, what do you think is, like... Because I know when I was younger, it always seemed like people were out super late, like 11:30, 12 o'clock. And I don't know if it's just because I thought it was late because I was younger, but now it seems like people are done at like 9:30 and 10.
Yeah, no, for
Have
sure.
you noticed that people are stopping?
I remember, I never went as long as my brother. I maybe went to like 10:30. That's kind of when my feet were tired.
Yeah.
I was cold. I wanted to go
start
home.
hurting.
But I remember my brother, he could go till almost midnight.
Wow.
And I had a few friends, same thing. They could be out till midnight going, but not anymore. I don't think that's as common.
Right.
Part of it might be laziness. Part of it might be also respecting, like, it's late. I don't want to go ring their doorbell at midnight. They probably want to go to bed by now.
If there are lights on, then you ring.
I know, that's the go-to. If the
Yeah.
light's on, go. But I think part of it, too, is just worried, like, no houses are going to be lit anymore. Because I think for my parents, depending, sometimes if it's early enough, it'll be, there's no more kids, let's shut it down. But it'll reach that point in the night where it's like, I want to go to bed. Let's shut off the lights and everything. But definitely, I don't think kids are out as late as they used to be.
Yeah.
Especially with the minivans, no? That we were talking about earlier. I think,
the
well, because it's so much more efficient now. You don't have to walk around the neighborhood. You just get in your car, house, get in the car, next neighborhood. You're done in an hour. You've hit every big neighborhood that you need to because you just drove the whole way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think they're going in earlier. Which, I mean, works for me.
Yeah.
I get to go to bed sooner.
Especially if it's a school night, yeah.
What about you, Vic?
I haven't noticed. I've never really held during Halloween.
Yeah,
so.
Thank you for tuning in to the Post Point podcast. We will see you guys next week. Who knows what we're going to talk about, but...
It's going to be good.
It will be good. We'll see you when we get there. Take care.